Hello my friends, and welcome back to another ArmA 3 video. I've gotten a ton of requests asking me to post what my favorite mods are, or at least a list of mods I usually run with. While the full list itself tends to vary greatly depending on what I'm doing in the game, I've decided to narrow it down to 25 of the mods I typically have running and why. I've covered most of not all of these mods in other list videos at some point, but I only reviewed them and never said why I personally use them. You may personally disagree or have a mod you like better, and that's perfectly okay. It's a free as fuck country after all. Through the comment section, you guys have hooked me up with a couple great mods I didn't even know existed, and for that I sincerely thank you. If you have a mod that you love, you feel doesn't get the recognition it deserves, comment it below and I'll give it a look and maybe even get it into a future video. So without further delay, let's get into it. At number 25 is a terrain that I love and use often, Hebontes Military Training Ground by AC Terrains. I really love a good training map, and Hebontes has something for literally every training scenario. The creators are German citizens living in the Rhineland, and thus the training grounds are modeled after real-world military facilities found in Germany. This map is a total labor of love, and you can tell the creators were hugely passionate about providing a high-fidelity training ground that fits all your milsim units' needs. A good-sized map clocking in at 240 square kilometers, roughly equivalent to Altus in size. As mentioned previously, this map was inspired by German Army ground facilities. Known for its tank trails, many US armored units TDY and deploy there regularly for field training exercises with joint NATO units as part of a security agreement between the German and American governments. As such, the German tank trails found a home in Hebontes, in the central portion of the island, allowing for fire and maneuver practice as well as a fixed position firing range. Hebontes hosts a total of 18 different weapons ranges. The ranges vary from simple rifle and marksman ranges, submachine gun ranges, sniper ranges, grenade ranges, anti-tank ranges, and even artillery firing ranges. Finally, to round everything off, there's Ilos Air Base, which is functional with the AI and is able to support heavy aircraft up to a C-17. But I wouldn't land or take off in anything requiring a longer runway. I really enjoy the addition of Hebontes to the workshop, and I love that the devs gave it a little history and lore, which is why it ends up being one of the mods that I roll with typically if I'm doing any kind of training. At number 24 is RHS by Red Hammer Studios. Yes, I know this mod has been done 1,000 times over, but I cannot stress enough how dedicated this team is to their craft. These guys have been in the modding game since the Operation Flashpoint days and were actually some of the first mods I ever downloaded for the game. Back when I was afraid I was going to download viruses and screw up my computer with add-ons and mods, but these guys showed me that not only would they not give me a Trojan horse, but I'd be getting some of the most high-fidelity mods around for my download. US, Russian, and independent forces all get a monstrous amount of assets with each pack. There's even a Serbian Armed Forces mod out there which spices up the independent forces even further. I'm honestly surprised they haven't created some kind of Middle Eastern op war, but it makes sense considering Operation Flashpoint was the US versus Russia, and thus the subsequent mods followed that pattern. I wouldn't mind a Middle Eastern op war pack from them though. RHS will always have a place on my mod list, as it offers such a leg up over the vanilla assets in terms of variety and time period. A lot of people have voiced that they don't particularly enjoy the near future setting that ArmA 3 is in, and RHS is one of the biggest helps in scaling it back to modern day. At number 23 is Immerse and Align by Lakesman. Yes, this is technically two mods, but they both impact ground combat in a similar way, and I felt it was necessary to combine them. Immerse is an awesome mod that gives an extra punchy feel to the weapons fired by hand. A shake and slight darkening of the screen's edges helps better convey the chaos of a firefight. I didn't really enjoy the intensity of the screen darkening, so I turned it off in the add-on options. But the rest of the effects, such as the slight shake when firing, as well as the shake when an explosion goes off nearby or when someone else fires, is a welcome addition. Align creates a slight twitch to your sight posts when you aim down the sights, which simulates bringing the weapon into the shoulder and getting a good sight picture on your target. This helps get away from the robotic snap type of aiming that came with the base game, where you perfectly aligned as soon as you brought the weapon up to your shoulder. It's amazing what something so simple can do for your immersion. At number 22 is the Light Blue Watercolor mod by Anzac SAS Steven. Yep, I covered this one previously as well, but I am a huge sucker for pretty blue water. This is exactly how the waters of Greek islands look. This is purely a cosmetic thing for me, and it just really helps me to enjoy what I'm looking at even more when there's water on a map. Thank you, Steven, for all your hard work with your mods. If you see this, you're one of my favorite modders out there, my friend. At number 21 is Arsenal Search by Polpox. Man, this mod saves me time. I'm always looking for something specific when in the arsenal, and 95% of the time I know what it's called and hate searching through the list of mods. Arsenal Search completely negates the endless searching and allows me to get everything I need with one search word using its Control F functionality. If you spend any amount of time in the arsenal making uniform and equipment builds, then this is a must-have for you. At 20 we have Real Heroes Ragdoll mod by Real Hero. I was not a massive fan of the clunky ragdoll attempt by Bohemia. This mod completely overhauls the death and falling animations, which is a massive improvement to me. Something so simple yet so critical to immersion. No more legs bending forward when you kill somebody, and that's a good thing. At 19 is NIArms weapons. Specifically, the all-in-one mod on the workshop that is definitely worth the hard drive space. Bar none, NIArms are some of the best weapons you'll get from any mod. The love and care that they put into all of their mods is so far beyond anything else that I pray Bohemia brings them into the fold to help develop weapons for ArmA 4. The recoil, muzzle flash, and fire rates all feel amazing. The weapons are detailed and worn and hit as hard as they need to. RHS has phenomenal weapons, but NIArms is my favorite. They have a massive amount of weapons they've developed over the last few years, so head to the all-in-one pack and see if there are any weapons you'd like. I promise it will have something for you. And if you don't, you can download the weapons individually. At 18 is an old favorite, No More Aircraft Bouncing by Scepter. Quick and easy mod, you download it and it goes to work in the background. A very low impact mod, it does its job perfectly. No more aircraft that go screaming back into the sky after you bring them down. Once they're down, they stay down, exploding into a fiery mess of oil and debris. This is one of those mods that completely saved my level of immersion when I'm flying. Or hell, even when I'm on the ground. At 17, I've got the Smoke and Missile mod by Anzac SAS Steven. This is another one of those mods that I haven't uninstalled since I found it. It will always be in my mod list. It makes the missile trails thicker and more enjoyable to see screaming across the sky, especially as missiles come flying off your rails or out of your launcher. Due to the engine's limitations, you may experience some odd things like missile trails shortening when firing long distances, but this still outshines the vanilla smoke trails 100-fold. Smoke is one of those performance-killing things in many games, and ArmA is no exception, so be careful not to oversaturate your missions with too much AAA. In the right lighting though, this mod is absolutely incredible and will put a huge smile on your face when you see a nearby SAM site go after incoming aircraft. At 16 is Improved Grenades by Draken. Holy crap, the ArmA 3 grenades might as well explode and send cotton balls everywhere. They are so underpowered. This mod finally gives the throwable and launchable grenades their deadly impact and kill radius. No longer will you see a guy standing on a grenade and survive while a guy 7 feet away dies. They all die. Every time. At 15 is one of my absolute favorite mods, Simplex Support Services by Scepter. It takes a little bit of setup in the editor, but holy crap is it worth it. Scepter has been nice enough to make very easy to understand tutorials on setting up the modules and how to sync them together to get it to function in the game. And the rewards are oh so glorious. My favorite support in particular is being able to call in a scripted V-44 gunship. Until we get the AC-130 back from the USAF Mod team when they're done being badasses, this is as close as we can get to that glory. At 14 is the Real Engine by A. Martin. This is actually a relatively recent addition for me, and it immediately found a place in my favorites. You guys have been asking a lot about the blast wave that's in my explosions. At first it was a mod called Blast Refract that I had to download from a GitHub site, which was pretty sketch. Real Engine has this mod included, so all you'll need to do is download Real Engine and you'll get the blast wave and many more features. A couple more notable features are sparks that fly off of metal objects when struck by bullets, a better flashlight for nighttime use which better simulates real life lighting, and a better blood mist visual when you hit an enemy. There are quite a few individual tweaks and additions given by this mod, so head over to the mod page and check out its features. At number 13, I've got my old tried and true mods, Firewill. I fell in love with his F-16 as it was the highest fidelity Viper in ArmA 3 when I discovered it. Firewill has continued to pump out aircraft after aircraft, mainly focusing on US fighters like the F-15, the A-10, the F-18, and the F-14. He's even got an F-22, F-35B, and the cancelled YF-23 Black Widow, just to name a few. Of all the aircraft he's provided, the F-16 is still my favorite. It received a 4K texture upgrade back in September of 2019, and shortly after, the F-15 received some of the same love. His mods ride the line between arcade and simulator. He's done everything he can to make it as sim-like as possible, but it's still ArmA, and there isn't much you can do about that. If you want the best combat flight sim experience, you'd better head off over to DCS, which is an amazing simulator, and I love the Viper module. If you want less simulation but more action while still feeling somewhat like a flight sim, then you'll love Firewill's aircraft mods. At 12 is JSRS by Lord Jarhead. I can't tell you how much of a difference JSRS Soundmod makes in ArmA 3. All of the weapon sounds and explosions have been given a complete facelift and sound incredible. The vanilla sounds were good, for what they were, but they lacked a sense of power and immersive sound like echoes. JSRS has corrected that and then some. If you're running RHS with JSRS, you'll need the compatibility mods as well, otherwise your RHS weapons won't work with the sound mod, and you'll get errors telling you to get the combat mods. JSRS has a massive amount of downloads, so I have zero doubt you guys know all about it. I could sit here and let you listen to weapon sounds, but we'd be here all damn day. So grab it if you don't already have it, and give your weapons and firefights the sound that they deserve. At number 11 is A3TI, or ArmA 3 Thermal Improvement by Hate and Caffeine, Pingo Pete, and Lala. Oh my damn, when this mod hit my recommended mods on the workshop, I jumped right into it. This is by far some of the best thermal imaging and night vision you'll get from any mod out there. What's even better is that these are the same folks working on the AC-130 mod, so I can only imagine how ball-bustingly incredible the USAF mod is going to become once we get our hands on the Spectre. For now, the V-44 Blackfish gunship is a fun little romp, and using their thermal imaging while stacking bodies is still awesome. At 10, I've got MRB Air Ground Vehicles mod. This mod is a mechanic changing mod which allows vehicles to be rendered in your overall view distance instead of just your object view distance and the options. What this means is that if you can see that far, you'll see the vehicles. This is especially awesome for pilots since you'll be able to pick out aircraft from afar if you've got eagle eyes. You will run into weird instances though where you'll be able to see the vehicles before the buildings around it loads. But that can be fixed by pushing your object view distance out a little bit. At 9, I've got Head Range Plus TrackIR mod by Feint. Man oh man, this mod completely reworked my immersion level when I bought my TrackIR. This allows you to move further left, right, up and down, in and out within cockpits and vehicle interiors where your head has freedom of motion. This is about as close to ArmA 3 VR as you'll get, and I literally have not removed it from my mods list since I downloaded it back in 2016. If you're flying, you'll be able to lean over and check your 6 o'clock a hell of a lot easier than you would by just moving your screen with the mouse. This mod makes using the clickable cockpits in aircraft like the FA-18 Super Hornet a breeze, as you'll be able to get down and around everywhere you need to go to hit the controls. It's not super necessary, but it greatly adds to my immersion and I really enjoy it. At number 8 is Bullet Casings by Hortsy. Such a simple yet powerful immersion aspect, bullet casings are definitely a must for any kind of firefight, even if temporary. I don't know why, but it just gives that "some shit went down here" look and helps to bring the Warzone alive a little bit more. It was always confusing to me why Bohemia didn't program in bullet casings considering they did an awesome job with the belt links from vanilla light machine guns, but hey, maybe they thought they'd be saving that little extra CPU power, I don't know. This mod does create small bullet casings that actually act as assets in-game, and by default, the cap I believe is set to 500 casings, which shouldn't really impact a decent CPU's performance. But should you see some kind of performance hit, you can change the amount through the community-based add-ons function in the map settings while in-game. At 7 is Lamb's AI Improvement Mods by Kenny. Kenny has provided a few different AI mods, but I'm going to go ahead and just bunch them together into one entry as they all change something awesome. For example, LAM suppression allows for longer firefights amongst the AI as they become pretty easily suppressed. This keeps the AI from one-shotting everything they see, which can and has happened more times than I can count. They aren't completely daft though. Eventually they will fight through the suppression and begin killing again. It's good to be able to lay down some suppressing fire at the AI, and it actually does something. LAM's Danger is one of the more popular AI tweaks, and it completely overhauls the way the AI responds to engagements. They'll actually go into buildings and react to being engaged even if they can't exactly see where it's coming from. Should they have heavy support vehicles nearby, they'll make an effort to crowd around them for safety instead of standing out in the open like idiots. Lots of folks have voiced how much they disapprove of the ArmA 3 AI, and this will definitely help correct those issues. At number 6 is the USAF Mod by Sergeant Fuller and the USAF Mod team. These guys are probably tired of me showcasing them, and you guys are probably tired of hearing about it, but I don't care because I love this mod. Am I biased because I'm Air Force? Oh hell yeah, but that isn't the only reason. This mod is the aircraft equivalent of NIArms weapons. These are some of the highest fidelity assets you'll find out there right now. The F-35A, F-22 Raptor, and A-10 are beautiful and hard-hitting. You'll literally fly circles around other jets in the F-22. The F-35 was finally given the proper sized wings, and this, as far as I know, is the first actual A model in ArmA 3. The A-10 cuts through tanks like a deployed troop through Korean prostitutes, and you get all the BERT action you want. The mod uses physics to activate the afterburner, and oh my god, why don't more mods do this? I'm only assuming it has to be a massive ass pain to get it done correctly, as I'm not a modder. But I do have dreams, and I dream of a day I don't have to use the scroll wheel to do something my maxed out throttle should be doing. The C-17 and C-130 will carry troops and equipment, deploying and redeploying at the force commander's discretion, and have phenomenal flight models to boot. The KC-135 is so incredibly fun to hook up to, and gives your aircraft the legs it needs to stay aloft over the combat zone to help the forces below. The procedures to hook up have been vastly improved, and by improved I mean, of course, it is way harder to hook up to than before, but it's definitely a lot easier than the real thing. It requires a little bit more skill and finesse from pilots, but no risk, no reward. And finally, to cap it all off, they have developed an outstanding service menu that is unmatched by any other in-game mod that I've seen. You can change the paint scheme, aircraft information, and click on each individual pylon and change the weapons in real time. You don't just want this mod, you need this mod. At 5 is the venerable USS Nimitz mod by Rory and TTT3. I can't tell you how badass this mod is. You have to strap into a Hornet or a Tomcat and launch off of this bad boy yourself to get the full effect. The devs are actively working on new features for it, and it is hands down one of the best naval mods you can have. Sadly, it isn't a movable asset, so don't expect to be moving your carrier battle group around the ocean, but it does give that forward deployed feeling when operating on it. Navy and carrier enthusiasts will love this mod, and I know quite a few people who practically live on the thing and their milsim units. My favorite thing aside from launching off the catapult is, admittedly, riding the elevators up to the flight deck. I don't know why, maybe I'm weird, but it evokes a here we go sort of feeling prior to a flight. Little things like that make this mod amazing, not to mention the steam effects coming from the catapults and the awesome script work done by the devs to help the carrier feel alive. The flight deck crew inspecting the plane prior to the launch and the animations as you're about to be thrown off the deck are some of the most immersive activities you'll find in any mod. At number 4 is one of my absolute favorite mods, and this sucker was hidden. The Vile mod by VileAce removes your HUD user interface with a push of a button in-game, and with the push of that same button brings it all right back. This is super useful for players that want a more immersive look to their game and don't want the distracting UI all over the screen. This does, however, keep you from accessing the scroll wheel and thus interacting with things in-game, but that's not a big deal at all since you can just hit the button and bring it all right back. By default, the keystroke to disable the UI is O, but I do believe you can change it to something else in the add-on options. At number 3 is honestly the entire reason I even have a YouTube channel. GCAM by Gigan, re-uploaded and revitalized by Jezaruni on the latest ArmA 3 build. I literally can't thank these guys enough, as they've given me a way to make my visuals the way I truly want them to look. If you are interested in making ArmA 3 videos but aren't sure where to begin or how to even start, this should be your first step. GCAM coupled with the shadow play is a recipe for success. GCAM is a mod that is downloaded and installed, then activated with a script that is available on the workshop page. There's a few ways to activate GCAM, but the easiest way I've found is to throw the script into the initialization box of the playable unit you'll be while in the editor. If you'd rather, you can also activate it through the debug console. Once activated, the UI opens and you are following yourself. At the right side is a table you can select units and mission to follow, and by pressing the L key, you can remove the UI and begin filming. I'd highly suggest doing your homework and making a plan for exactly how you want your videos to look so you can better set yourself up for success. Lighting is a big one, and I find that setting the time around 1700 or so gives it really warm and pretty visuals that I tend to use a lot in my videos. At number 2 is the reason my visuals look as pretty as they do, the reduced Haze Mod by Anzac SAS Steven. I honestly should just invest in this guy. He makes so many amazing game-changing mods. If you're not playing with this mod loaded, you're seriously doing yourself a disservice. It gets rid of that gray, hazy look that really kind of makes ArmA look drab. Once the hazy look is gone, your visuals immediately pop. The sky is bluer than hell and the water is gorgeous. Looking off into the distance isn't an eyesore thanks to Steven, and man, I owe this guy a few beers because of it. And finally, at number 1 is Blastcore and Hopecore by Optical Snare and HJ. I'm going to go ahead and just throw these two mods together as they are practically inseparable. There are two primary explosion effects mods that I have covered previously, Blastcore and ArmA FXP. I love them both, but if I had to choose one to game with the rest of my ArmA life, I would have to go with Blastcore. Reason being, it's a little easier on the frame rates, and that is huge for me, especially when I have a lot of assets in the mission that can explode. Don't get me wrong, ArmA FXP's explosions are gorgeous, and definitely my favorite to look at. But Blastcores are that perfect in-between that still look amazing with beautiful fiery effects and smoke, while also saving your frame rate a bit more. Should ArmA FXP get their mod to stop killing the frame rate when more than 2 explosions are on the screen at once, I'll definitely be jumping ship. But right now, I'm going with Blastcore. Hopecore is a lighting enhancement mod that works to improve the explosive lighting and fiery look, especially at night, and they both work together perfectly. However, I do not recommend running Blastcore and ArmA FXP at the same time. You'll run into particle overlaps and get some pretty wonky effects and errors. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining me today. I would just like to take a second and thank my patrons for their gracious support and donations to this channel. Secondly, I'd like to thank you, the viewer, for liking, subscribing, and commenting your thoughts on your favorite mods and for always giving me your constructive feedback on the videos. You guys are this channel. Your kind words, kudos, and friendly banter are the drive I need to keep this channel going forward. Thank you all again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.